All right, my next group, number 8. Some controversy here, Sam. I put a poll out. This was weeks ago now. Wanted to see what the people thought. The poll was, who has the better defensive line? 2 options, Eagles or Giants. As of record time here, the people say 52% Eagles, 48% Giants. But number 8 for me on this list is the Giants defensive line. I've got them in the top 10. I'm living in the Dexter Lawrence hype that we love to create, which is valid. The trio of of edge rushers, Brian Burns, the addition of Abdul Carter, and then Kayvon Thibodeaux. I mean, just that 4 right there is outstanding. I love Darius Alexander in the 4th. I don't think they have the same kind of depth as every other team that we've listed on here. For the most part, had some level of depth that I was raving about as well. I don't think the Giants have that, but man, there's so much potential for this defensive line heading into this year.
Yeah, there is. But I think that potential word is why, teams, or why some people would go in the other direction and say, actually the Eagles have more proven quality than the Giants do. I think the potential of that Giants defensive front is really, really good. But we loved Kayvon Thibodeaux at draft time, not number 1 overall, but we thought he was probably the second best pass rusher in that draft. And he hasn't become an impact playmaker. So as much as Abdul Carter may be, an impact dynamic, difference maker right off the bat, maybe not. And if he isn't, suddenly the whole complexion of this defensive line changes. And it's still relying on Dexter Lawrence being one of the best players in the NFL, Brian Burns being good, and then they're still sort of struggling for those supporting cast members. But look, Lawrence is one of one. He's one of the top players in the NFL. There's nobody playing the nose tackle position the way he is. There's nobody that generates the kind of pressure or disruption that he can from that interior spot. He is the gap between him and the second best player, sort of quote unquote at his position, right? Because nobody's playing nose tackle that much, and certainly nobody's playing it like him. The gap between him and the second best guy may be bigger than it is at any other position in the NFL. Brian Burns is really good. Then you get the question marks. Abdul Carter could be phenomenal based off how amazing he was really his first year playing as a full-time edge rusher. If he develops, he's got the bend, he's got the acceleration, the burst. If he just develops further, adds a couple more moves to his pass rush arsenal, he could be phenomenal. Similarly, Darius Alexander was a guy a lot of people loved at draft time as well, and they got him as a relative steal. So if he's able to come in and be a significant difference maker right away, it's huge. And then Thibodeaux being sort of dropped further down the depth chart, his impact or his value just gets higher relative to how much he's playing. So I think the potential is absolutely there for this group to be really good, but it is relying on several what ifs all stringing together in their direction.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I might be a year early on this. I think Thibodeaux, so Lawrence, everything that you said. I think Brian Burns, I still don't know if I would pay him close to $30 million per year, but he was more productive last year than maybe I anticipated. Still a very difficult threat off the edge with his speed. A little bit better against the run last year in particular. Kayvon Thibodeaux, I think is he worth the number 7 overall pick? You could argue that, but I think he's fallen in as a pretty good number 2 edge rusher. And then Abdul Carter is absolutely the wild card. Not only young on the edge, but I thought it took him a few weeks last year, but after that it clicked and he was awesome. So there's some projection here. There's also, it's top heavy in that if you move Carter around, who is a former linebacker, by the way, and on third down, you're talking about Thibodeaux and Burns off the edge, Dexter Lawrence in the middle, and wherever you want to put Abdul Carter, good luck. We're going to create mismatches with him. That's a beautiful front four, rushing the passer on third down. And I am a Darius Alexander fan. I think the biggest knock is the fact that he's 24, but I think you're talking about second round type of value that they got top of the third or fourth, top of the third. And I think he has a chance to make an impact right away. And he's got some multi-gap potential as well. The rest of it, pretty much rotational type of players. I don't know if the depth is there. I know the league really liked Roy Robertson Harris for a while. Rakeem Nunez Roches has been a rotational player his whole career. I don't think the depth is there. They're not scaring anybody. But the first 4 or 5 on the depth chart, really good for the Giants. And what I'm saying is I would put their first 4 or 5 up against the Eagles' first 4 or 5. And I think with Milton Williams leaving, with Josh Sweat leaving, I love the replacements that the Eagles have as well. But you have to acknowledge, like, they've taken a hit. The Giants have gone the other way. So right now I'm putting the Giants above them as far as defensive line rankings go here.
All right, that's enough of that, Steve. Over 50% of the people listening to this are not subscribed right now. So click that button, and then we can get back to whatever it is Steve's telling you about. You can't drag back the credit now. You're a well-known Maro Ajomo skeptic. It's well documented.
I love Ajomo. I don't think Ajomo is going to be as good as Milton Williams, though. But he was a steal in the 7th round a couple of years ago.
I mean, really, when you're comparing the Giants and the Eagles, it basically comes down to Abdul Carter, because I think the Giants have, if you look at sort of the best, if you rank them in order, right, on each depth chart, the Giants have the best player of either team. So Dexter Lawrence is better than anybody on the Eagles' defensive front. I think you can argue that Brian Burns is better than the second best player on the Eagles' defensive front as well. So the Giants have the best player and the best number 2 player of their front, of their defensive lines. Then the question becomes, what is Abdul Carter? Because if he's good, they have arguably the best 3. But if he's not, the Eagles might have the best 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and maybe even 7th best player on the defensive line.
That'd be a good one, because when I was tweeting about Dexter Lawrence a few weeks ago, Eagles and Giants fans are battling between a Jalen Carter, Dexter Lawrence, who's better discussion. I mean, if you were just ranking the best players on both teams, I would say Lawrence 1, Carter 2. Then you're talking probably Burns 3.
Yeah.
But the answer is they're playing different positions anyway. I could see Jalen Carter being, as we've said many times, the very best true defensive tackle, 3 technique, say. Lawrence, the best nose tackle. Fine. Split them however you want. They're both elite players.
But my point is, the Giants have the best player overall. They have the second best player on each team. Then the Eagles might be better from that point on at every respective position, unless Abdul Carter is really good. If Abdul Carter is really good, the Giants might have the best 1, 2, and 3 player, in which case it almost doesn't matter. Like, the Eagles could literally have the best at every subsequent position, and the Giants would still be better based off the top heaviness, the fact that those top 3 guys are so good. So honestly, it really comes down to how good Abdul Carter is as a rookie. Like, if he is special, if he is as good as a lot of people thought he was, if he's good enough, with that, the physical traits and what he's able to do even without developing, it's enough.
Yeah. So the other part about the Eagles here, they didn't make my top 10 on the defensive line. Losing Josh Sweat, losing Milton Williams, all they've done is opted into a few more unknowns. Ajomo played really well last year. We've talked a ton about Jalix Hunt and what he did down the stretch, but there's still need to see more from them. And I know you could say the same thing about Abdul Carter, but I'm banking on, look, there's been a lot of blue chip edge rushers who come into the league, get drafted in the top 5, and hit the ground running right away. It is one of the easier slam dunk projections in the NFL. So I'm banking on that when it comes to Carter. But yeah, at the end of the year, we might be talking about the Eagles. Like, absolutely, they're back. They should be on this list. Hunt is a star, and Ajomo's the next star, and Nolan Smith's taking another step forward, whatever it might be. So yeah, but the Eagles are a just miss for me as far as this list goes. I'm going with the Giants D-line.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.